If you are fighting out of the blue corner,
We
please make your
are
way towards
here
this side.
in the
Red
fight
corner.
capital of the
On this
world,
side, you will be
Las
entering from
Vegas.
opposite sides
It
of the
is
stage.
Rhythm and Riffs Lounge at the Mandalay Bay. And watch this segue. Nice segue by the camera as well. As I introduce the man with the gift of the jab and gab, former 2-division champion Paulie Malignaggi, and Mr. Boxopedia, Hall of Famer Steve Farhood. Guys, here at Rhythm and Riffs, rhythm, of course, a key aspect of the sweet science. I know Adelaide Bird and CJ Ross love that segue. Rhythm, boxing, rhythm on the marquee. Steve, you're the gambler here.
Uh-oh.
Las Vegas, known back in the day for those classic 3 real slot machines.
Right.
3 of a kind, you hit the jackpot. Boxing fans this weekend, 3 of a kind, my friend. 3 intriguing matchups coming their way Saturday on SHOWTIME Championship Boxing. A couple of compelling welterweight bouts sandwiching a rematch from a 2017 Fight of the Year candidate.
Well, to start with the rematch, Gavril put up such a good fight against Benavidez the first time, and there are a lot of reasons you can have a rematch. Controversy is usually the number one reason. In this case, Benavidez won a split decision, but he got dropped in the last round. It was just simply a very good fight, and apparently both camps came to an agreement on a rematch very quickly. So the only reason they're doing it again is the first fight was hotly contested, competitive, and just a fan-friendly fight.
Yeah, Paulie, of course, in their first meeting last September, David Benavidez became not only the youngest current active champion in boxing, but the youngest super middleweight champion in history. 34 years the 168-pound weight class has been around. Still very much a pup by pugilistic standards. But what impresses you the most thus far about Benavidez' rise through the ranks?
I think it's just his poise. You know, he's 21 years old at this point, but you know he fights with the veteran poise of a guy who's a little older. You know, sometimes you actually forget that he's the youngest champion. You know, he actually described that to us this morning in the fighter meetings, talking about how people always mention Gervonta Davis as the youngest champion. Gervonta's not even a champion anymore at this point. But you know, they seem to forget that Benavidez was actually the youngest champion once he won the title. You know, and I think that's more so a credit to him. I think it's more so, you know, people just see his maturity and his poise, and they actually forget that this kid is 21 years old, won the title at 20 years old. So I think continued successful performances, fan-friendly performances where he continues to improve, that will open up people's eyes and make sure they don't forget him when it comes to just mentioning the top super middleweights and also these youngest champions.
Yeah, and Steve, he's been closing a lot of his opponents' eyes. 17 of 19 victories. Gavril went the distance. Gavril seemed to really find his groove in the second half of the fight where Benavidez seemed to fade. We now know that Benavidez had a cold the week of the fight, went through a personal tragedy in the weeks leading up to the fight. No excuses, he says, but we expect to see, I guess, a better version of both.
Well, I think Paulie can address this because you fought rematches in your career. There seems to me, as an observer, much more psychology involved in a rematch than there might be the first time when you don't know each other. Now, these two guys, Gavril is looking for things to feel good about. What he feels good about is that he won the second half of the fight
and dropped
Benavidez in
first
round
time
12.
in his career. Yeah,
Benavidez is looking for positives in that he wasn't 100% physically. He also lost a family member who was murdered only a couple of weeks before the fight. So he's looking for positives as well. And that's not the kind of stuff that necessarily happens before you fight a guy for the first time. But when you fight a guy like you did with Ndu a second time, there's a lot of psychology at play that wouldn't necessarily be there if you were fighting for the first time.
Yeah, I think so. And also, you know, you can take the pros and the cons out of it. You know, obviously you mentioned some of the pros that, you know, you're going to take the positivity you think, the things that maybe you're going to correct a little bit and say, I can easily correct that and make this my fight, you know. But also, you're going to, just the fact that you've seen this guy before. Now you've been inside the ring with him. It's different when you see him on video, you see him, you know, studying him. But when you've seen him in front of you, you've seen him getting his stance in front of you, and you've seen him at that distance where you're going to be fighting him. You've seen the looks he gives you. It gives you just a bit more confidence in that you know how to adjust to that look, you know, adjust the looks he gives you, and that you're going to do better. Obviously, both guys are going to have that because they've both seen each other. But what I'm saying is, either way, you're looking for reasons to go into a rematch with the confidence that these guys are showing going into this one, and that's just par for the course.
And Gavril has the confidence of dropping him in the final minute, more of a jab than a hook, an off-balance shot. But Benavidez said, hey, that's one of the main reasons I wanted the rematch right away was to not cloud anyone's true view of what I'm about. And so Gavril has had 8 weeks to prepare for this instead of 4 weeks. Again, it's round 13 of what it was a tremendous 168-pound title fight last September. Danny Garcia returns after the longest layoff of his career, 11 months, coming off the first setback of his professional career, that split decision loss in the title unification fight at welterweight against Keith Thurman. Saying all the right things, saying, hey, guys, I've been boxing for 20 years. I have a young daughter I wanted to spend time with, wanted to enjoy some of the prize in the prize fighting, that money. What do you expect in Danny Garcia's comeback fight here against a guy who is one of the most notable brawlers of his era, Brandon Rios, who has obviously seen better days?
It's action-wise, it's a real fan-friendly fight, Mo. But I think that there's a lot of pressure on Danny Garcia. You know, we live in a world in boxing that's very much what have you done for me lately. And today, because fighters fight less often than they used to, Danny Garcia is coming off the longest layoff of his career. He has to prove he still belongs at the very top of that talent-rich welterweight division. There's pressure on him.
All right, Paulie, we're going to get your thoughts on that matchup coming up. But right now, it's time to turn things over to Hall of Fame ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you, and we welcome you to the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino here in Las Vegas, Nevada, as Premier Boxing Champions presents the official weigh-in for a big night of action taking place tomorrow night, and it's all brought to you by Mayweather Promotions along with TGB Promotions in association with DSG Promotions and Showtime, as sponsored by Casa Noble Tequila and Corona Extra, who invites you to find your beach. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we begin our weigh-ins with Showtime Championship Boxing's opening attraction taking place tomorrow night, 7 p.m. local time. 12 rounds of boxing for the IBF welterweight title eliminator. And at this time, please welcome as we invite our fighters to the stage. First, he has a record of 24 wins, 2 losses, with 12 wins coming by way of knockout. He is ranked the number 11 welterweight in the world by the IBF from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Please welcome the new Ray Robinson. And his opponent we invite to the stage at this time. With a record of 20 wins and 3 losses, he has 9 of his wins coming by way of knockout. He is ranked the IBF number 14 welterweight in the world from Las Vegas, Nevada, by way of Santiago in Cuba. Please welcome Yordenis Ugas. And at this time, we're going to invite our fighters to the scale. This welterweight elimination bout has a weight limit of 147 pounds. And he's ready to step onto the scale at this time. He is looking for his 14th straight win. Please welcome the new Ray Robinson. The new Ray Robinson weighs in at a ready 146 pounds, 146. And now his opponent, ladies and gentlemen, former amateur world champion, current world contender, Yordenis Ugas. Yordenis Ugas weighs in right at the welterweight limit of 147 pounds. 147 for Yordenis Ugas.
So it's official, Yordenis Ugas and the new Ray Robinson will meet in a welterweight elimination bout. The winner will become the second mandatory challenger for current IBF champ Errol Spence.
And next, we're going to bring our fighters together, face off for a photo opportunity. We'll give them a moment to put some of their clothing on. Then we'll bring them together face to face. Once again, 147-pound welterweight division IBF title eliminator. 12 rounds of boxing opens up our Showtime Championship Boxing scheduled tomorrow night, 7 p.m. local time.
Both Robinson and Ugas riding waves of momentum since both suffered back-to-back losses. Ugas has won 5 in a row, while Robinson has reeled off 13 consecutive victories. What do you like about this matchup, Paulie?
I think it's two young guys. I mean, or two guys who are on the come up anyway. I'm not sure how young they are, but two guys on the come up who will finally have a chance to really make a breakthrough, have a breakthrough win. They've had a couple of decent wins. They've both been making their name and teetering on that edge. But really, with a win in this fight, really puts the winner.
And there they
in a
are,
position
ladies
to get
and gentlemen. 12 rounds of boxing. The IBF welterweight
and
title
really up their money and up their recognition.
Yordenis Ugas, the new Ray Robinson.
The new Ray Robinson, who, believe it or not named after the man considered to be the greatest welterweight ever and arguably the pound-for-pound best ever, Sugar Ray Robinson, who was actually born Walker Smith.
It was. Little known fact.
Oh, little factoids for you, Paulie. And, of course, Steve Farr is always...
So does that mean the current Ray Robinson has more rights to the name? Because
he's the authentic Ray Robinson. We have, of course...
and now, ladies and gentlemen, we continue with our official
title
weigh-ins.
fight.
This time we present a world title attraction. 12 rounds of boxing scheduled for the WBC Super Middleweight Championship of the World, brought to you in conjunction with Samson Boxing. Introducing to the stage first, he is the challenger with a record of 18 wins, 2 losses, and 14 wins coming by way of knockout. Ranked the WBC number 5 contender from Las Vegas by way of Romania, introducing Ronald Gavril.
Gavril's jab and body work was
and his
effective
opponent we
against
invite to the
Benavidez in
stage
the
at
first
this
fight.
time, the defending champion with a fine record of 18 wins, no losses, 17 big wins coming by way of knockout. He is not only boxing's youngest current world champion, he is the youngest super middleweight champion of the world in the history of our sport. From Phoenix, Arizona, please welcome the champion, La Bandera Roja, David Benavidez.
And there is the
And now,
champ,
ladies and gentlemen, we invite the
David
challenger to the
Benavidez.
scale, 168-pound weight limit. He'll be making his second attempt at a world title, looking for revenge, Ronald Gavril. Ronald Gavril weighs in at 167 1/4 pounds. 167 1/4 pounds for Ronald Gavril. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is making the first defense of his title. Here is the undefeated and hard-hitting WBC Super Middleweight Champion of the World, La Bandera Roja, David Benavidez. 167 pounds for the champion, David Benavidez. 167, we have a fight.
So the title fight is official. One thing you would like to see both Benavidez and Gavril do either differently, more effectively, or add something completely new to their arsenal. What's the one area you would suggest for both in the rematch?
It's something that they both brought up this morning, you know, better use of the jab. You know, I'd like to see better use of the jab from both guys. You know, he had some nice exchanges in the first fight. I think the jab will maybe diminish some exchanges, but it'll maybe create a smarter fighting tactic for either guy. And Benavidez maybe to get to the body a little more. You know, obviously Gavril wants to get to the body. You know, he's the one that's been continuously harping on that. But Benavidez is also a good body puncher, get to the body a little more.
And both
both guys are dead serious.
Yeah, and both have said that this fight will not go to the judges' scorecards this time around.
And there they are, ladies and gentlemen, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Super Middleweight Championship of the World. David Benavidez, La Bandera Roja versus Ronald Gavril.
They say familiarity breeds contempt. They've shared the ring for 12 rounds, Paulie. They're going to do it for at least one more Saturday night.
Something tells me they look forward to sharing the ring again tomorrow night.
All right, David. Psychology is such a big part of rematches. What did you take away from the first fight that you can apply to win this fight more easily?
You know, we did a lot of things in training camp. You know, we had an amazing training camp, but I have a game plan for you guys to see on Saturday. I'm going to show you guys, and I'm going to get that knockout.
You weren't 100% the first time, either emotionally or physically. What will we see tomorrow in the early rounds that'll tell us that you're 100% this time?
Oh, you guys are just going to have to tune in and see. It's going to be a war like I told you guys, and I'm looking forward for Saturday night. And you can get in after I'm done with your buddy, too.
Ronald Gavril's brother that's calling you out here.
Daddy's not going to save you. He's going to save you. Daddy's not here.
Floyd is not going to save you. Daddy Floyd is not going to save you guys. We're going to knock him out.
All right, let's get.
All right, thank you so much, all the people.
Good luck, David.
Appreciate it.
Move our way over here. Ronald, you lost the first fight split decision, but you knocked down David in the last round. Is that momentum something that you can follow through and use in this rematch?
I not believe I lost the fight. I think I won the fight with the knockdown, you know. And I'm ready for the rematch. I'm ready 100%. I'm coming to hurt him, you know. I'm not coming to play. He know me. Everybody know me now, who I am now. Yeah.
The first fight, you needed some rounds to figure him out. The second half of the fight, you won those rounds. Will this be a continuation of the second half of the fight?
Of course, I start around 13 in the rematch. Yeah.
And you had only 4 weeks camp the first time. Now you had 8 weeks, right?
Everybody know I have only 4 weeks notice in the first fight. And now I got the 8 weeks and I prepare very well this training camp.
Prediction?
The new WBC champion.
Good luck, Ronald.
Well, fans, many consider their first meeting one of the fights of the year. They're putting it on tomorrow night. It's a WBC Super Middleweight Championship of the World. Don't miss the action.
So we are awaiting the main event, the return of Danny Garcia after a career-high 11-month sabbatical
And now,
from the
ladies
Sweet
and
Sauce.
gentlemen, from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, Premier Boxing Champions presents the official weigh-in for the main event of the evening, brought to you by Mayweather Promotions, along with TGB Promotions, in association with DSG Promotions and Showtime, sponsored by Corona Extra, who invites you to find your beach, and Casa Noble Tequila. Our main event, ladies and gentlemen, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Welterweight World Championship Eliminator. Introducing first to the stage with a record of 34 wins, 3 losses and 1 draw. He has 25 wins coming by way of knockout. Ranked the WBC number 9 welterweight in the world. Please welcome the exciting former WBA lightweight champion of the world from Oxnard, California, Brandon Bam Bam Rios. And now we invite to the stage his opponent with a record of 33 wins, 1 loss, and 19 wins coming by way of knockout. A veteran of 8 world title appearances. Here is the former 2-division world champion from Philadelphia, Danny Swift Garcia. Well, it looks like he is ready to step onto the scale at this time. 147 weight-pound livid. Here is the electrifying former champion of the world, Brandon Bam Bam Rios. $146.5 pounds for Brandon Bam Bam Rios, 146.5. And now here he is, the current WBC number 2 contender, and the former 2-division champion of the world, Danny Swift Garcia. 146.5 pounds for Danny Garcia, 146.5 pounds. We have a fight.
So both Garcia and Rios come in under 147. Rios has had weight-cutting issues in the past. Paulie has missed weight and was a champion at 135, but we'll find out how much he has left in what has been a career that has been marked by celebrated brawls. But when he's faced the best, the Manny Pacquiao's, the Timothy Bradleys, he's fallen short. What does he have to do to pull off the upset against Garcia?
Well, the reason I like this fight, I'll let Jimmy finish up.
For the final time before they meet tomorrow night in the center of the ring in the main event of the evening, the WBC Welterweight World Title Eliminator, once again brought to you by Mayweather Promotions and TGB Promotions in association with DSG Promotions and Showtime. Sponsors Corona Extra and Casa Noble Tequila. all brought to you courtesy of Premier Boxing Champions.
Yeah, you know, one thing I like about this fight, Rios has had trouble with upper echelon fighters, but it's not so much that the fact that they're upper echelon. I just think it's more styles make fights. Because he's been a world champion at 135 pounds. He's a lightweight world champion, and he's beaten guys like Diego Chavez even at super lightweight, I believe. So I don't think it's the fact of the upper echelon. I think it's much more styles. Guys like Bradley and Pacquiao have very fast feet. Rios is a guy who likes to bang it out, and he doesn't have the quickest feet. So to corner you, as we see this stare down now, over on the stage. But the corner you is a bit of a tougher proposition when you have fast feet. Garcia's a very good fighter in his own right. He's one of the best welterweights in the world. But he's not fast-footed, and that could mean some good exchanges and some good close-range fighting between these two.
Never in a dull fight, never lost a world championship fight in the ring. There they are. It's the main event of the evening. WBC Welterweight World Championship Eliminator Danny Swift Garcia, Brandon Bam Bam Rios.
And now the war of words begin before the anticipated war in the ring Saturday night.
Yeah, these guys, no love lost here.
And it doesn't take long for Brandon Rios to light the wick.
Yeah, and you know, both these guys are very strong-minded fighters. You know, there's one of their best qualities in the ring is the fact they're very strong-minded. So that confidence always is breeding on the stage right now.
And what else do you expect when you get Mexico versus Puerto Rico, right? As Steven's talking to Mr. Garcia.
Oh, not at all. At the end of the day, it's a fight, and it is what it is.
It's a what have from in boxing. You haven't fought for a while. Is the meaning for you to prove to the world that you're still at the very top of the welterweight division?
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, I got to go in there and prove myself like I do every other time. It's the underdog on top, and that's how I go. It's got that chip on my shoulder. I'm ready to go out there tomorrow and perform and get the job done.
We know how Brandon fights. There's no surprise. How are you going to fight? Are you going to fight his fight? Is it going to be an absolute war, or are you going to turn a little boxer?
I'm going to do what I want to do, like I said before. It's the Danny Garcia show.
We wish you luck. Prediction?
Danny Garcia will win, baby. I'm putting him to sleep.
Good luck. Move over this side. We'll stay right here. Brandon, you're one of the fight fans' favorite fighters for a reason, the way you fight. Can you win fighting that style against Danny Garcia?
Yeah, hell yeah. I can win that fight. I can win it. I won my world title like that. So why can't I beat Danny Garcia? He's nobody special. Everybody thinks he's somebody special. He ain't nobody special. I'm ready. I'm ready for this guy.
What does it do for you mentally as you prepare for this fight? To go through a weigh-in where you actually made weight pretty easy, comfortably, what difference does that make in the ring?
Like I tell everybody, when I do it right, when I'm disciplined and when I'm concentrated and I'm focused, I'm an animal. Nobody was going to stop me. And I got this motherfucker. What happened to Bradley? Everybody's thinking my last opponent, but Bradley, fuck them. They're stupid. But when I'm an animal and I do it right, I'm an animal. I'm coming to knock this motherfucker out.
Prediction?
I'm going to win this fucking fight. That's my prediction. At the end of 12 rounds or whatever it takes, I'm winning. That's what it is.
Good luck, Brandon.
Thank you.
Even though it is live streaming and, of course, Showtime Premium Cable, you know that Brandon Rios, the kind of guy that gives TV censors a carpal tunnel syndrome with the button. Anyways, always, I mean, what a meeting, right? He comes in on my first fighter meeting with Brandon Rios, and he's just one of those gregarious, quotable characters. But at the end of the day, this is still a huge fight for Brandon Rios. Came out of the 19-month sabbatical to retirement after being humbled by Timothy Bradley. Looked pretty good in his first fight back against Aaron Herrera. But now he faces a much higher level fighter and a former two-division champion in Danny Garcia.
Yeah, absolutely. But this was the reason he came back, is to be in fights like this. He was telling us that during his sabbatical, his time off, he's watching pay-per-view fights and saying, you know what, I should be there. I should be in these big fights. I still have the capability of being in these main events. And I think, you know, the whole point of him coming back was to eventually reach the level of fight night that he's going to have tomorrow night against an upper world-class fighter like Danny Garcia in a big main event on Showtime. I think this is what it's all about. This is why you come back. You don't come back to fight in the lower level fights, especially when you've already tasted what it's like to be at the top. So I think he's salivating to get back in there against a guy like the level of Danny Garcia.
What does Danny Garcia have to do Saturday night to impress someone like you who's been in the ring with him, but his fan base?
I just think Danny has to be himself. You know, Danny's a smart fighter. You know, he's the kind of guy that, you know, he may be slow-footed, but he's got a great sense of timing. He's got a good jab when he wants to. As we saw in the Lucas Martins fight, he's got a lot of boxing ability. This is a kid who was a world-class amateur. So, to win in the amateurs, you got to be more than a banger, as a lot of people just think Danny Garcia is. You also got to be able to box. And I think some of his boxing skills are going to come into play in this fight tomorrow night, because Rios is going to come to try to make it a junkyard kind of fight. He's going to come to make it a gutter kind of match. Garcia is very mentally strong, so I think none of that is going to bother him, but at the same time, you got to be physically and mentally ready for it. And of course, Rios is also super mentally strong, so whatever Danny does, I think Rios is also going to be willing to kind of go through the fire in order to try to get the win. Danny's mentally strong. He's a big puncher. Rios has never been stopped. Garcia's predicting a knockout. If Garcia can get the knockout over Rios, I don't want to hear about the fact that, Rios has seen better days or whatnot. This is still a guy who's been in with the best fighters in the world, has been a world champion, has come up short a couple times and whatnot, but he's never been stopped. And so if Garcia makes his prediction stand true, it's a big statement. Nonetheless, it's a great fight stylistically. Regardless of what people think of the matchup, it's a great fight stylistically. Garcia's not going to go anywhere. His feet aren't the fastest. And Rios is always going to constantly bring the fight because that's just what he does. And when a guy's not fast-footed, you're not going to give Rios the kind of trouble getting to you. So I think you're going to see some fun exchanges tomorrow night.
If Garcia is going to deliver on his promise to knock out Rios, it's probably going to come by way of his own version of that Philly special that's so big now in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
His left hook.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Nick Foles trick play is one thing, brings you a Super Bowl, but the left hook has brought Danny Garcia all the success in the world.
That's his trick play.
First fight of the night, we didn't get a chance to talk too much about your Denis Ugas, a Cuban defector, Olympic bronze medalist who, again, since losing back-to-back fights, questioning his place in the boxing pecking order, maybe questioning his passion and desire just a bit, has come back and won 5 fights in a row, all at 147. The new Ray Robinson, and what a story he has, having had his legs broken by his natural father when he was just a baby, living in a shelter. I mean, we know where fighters come from, and Ray Robinson comes from that area, and he's now won 13 in a row since losing back-to-back fights. Give us your take on this fight.
At the humble beginnings, that's the reason a lot of fighters turn to boxing. Ugas in Cuba, the poverty of Cuba, Robinson in the poverty of his Philadelphia upbringing and whatnot. Nonetheless, everybody fights to get to a better life. Everybody fights to get to this kind of level and then hopefully stay at this kind of level. And I think the best kind of fights are between fighters like this who are almost there, but they're not quite there. So they're fighting with all the passion, all the hunger, and all the skill, because they can now taste it. They're almost where they want to be.
All right, I'll give you the final thoughts then on the night. Triple header coming your way on Showtime Championship Boxing. 2 welterweight fights, which, of course, bookend a much-anticipated rematch for a 168-pound title. It should be another action-packed night on Showtime.
I think so. It's all about styles. It's not just about sometimes you put together fights and, people pay too much attention to names. This is not just names here tomorrow night. I think stylistically, these are going to be fun fights, and they're going to be really enjoyable.
All right, so it will be Danny Garcia coming back from his longest hiatus and his first loss against Brandon Bam Bam Rios, who, of course, is always an all-action fighter. That's the headliner. Of course, it's the rematch between David Benavidez and Ronald Gavril for Benavidez' 168-pound belt. And we open up our evening with a 147-pound matchup between your Denis Ugas and the new Ray Robinson. I hope you will join Paulie Malignaggi, Steve Farhood, and the rest of our Showtime crew Saturday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific. Hey, if you're a first-time subscriber, you can go to Showtime.com and begin your free trial this weekend. And don't miss boxing at its best Saturday night, only on Showtime.